Thank you. Let me know. Hi, Dan. Representative Warren, do you, is 1307 followed by 1348 okay?
Yes.
Okay. Are we still waiting, Deb?
I think we're ready, Senator, if you'd like to get us started.
I inquired if we were. All right, I guess so. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee. Today is Friday, January 14th. I am Senate Chair Susan DeChambeau, and I will be conducting the meeting today. There are two bills that are work session ready, 1307 and 1348. Before I begin, I don't want to forget saying this. For those of you who aren't customarily up here in the State House for these meetings, and all through COVID, this has happened. Our committee clerk, Deb, has all the documents here at the table. If you do come in, you can pick up the bill, any associated written testimony is all in a packet, and also the policy analyst's report. So if you are not here, but you happen to stop in the State House anytime or want to, those files are all in the file cabinet in the room. So you can, it's all by your name, and so you can look at any of those, so you don't have to bring them. Especially one of them, I can't remember, was probably 4 inches thick, so you don't want to take that home. So I want to let you know that. So I will begin. For those of the public that aren't familiar with a work session, the purpose of work sessions is for the committee to receive information from staff and others in order for members to consider the legislative proposals before us and make recommendations and reports to the legislature. I failed to mention these two bills were heard last year, so they've had a public hearing, and they were carried over so they could do some more work on it. Only the committee members today and the committee analysts and those specifically invited to attend will be participating in the work session using Zoom. For members of the public wishing to observe the meeting, it is being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. And after we are done, you will be able to look at that. Another thing, the materials that are provided electronically for this meeting, either through screen share, email, or posted before the meeting or soon after. When it comes to a committee vote, we must have a quorum present, at least 7 members, including 1 senator. In order to be counted as present, the identity must be visually verifiable on the Zoom screen. I will now call upon the members to introduce themselves, and I will look at the screen. I will start with House Chair Representative Warren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Charlotte Warren, and I represent the city of Hollowell and the towns of Manchester and West Gardner.
And then I will go to Senator Seaway.
Good morning. I'm Senator Scott Searway and represent District 16, which covers Waterville, Winslow, Fairfield, Benton, Albion, Clinton, and Unity Township.
Thank you. Representative Reckett.
Morning. My name is Lois Reckett, and I represent District 31, which is the ocean end of South Portland.
And Representative Newman.
Yes, I'm Representative Newman, District 76, which is Belgrade, Rome, Mount Vernon, Vienna, Fayette, and Wayne.
Representative Renicki.
Good morning. I'm Shelley Rudnicki. I represent House District 108, which is Fairfield, Mercer, and Smithfield. And once again, I'd like to say that we're doing a disservice to our constituents by being on Zoom, and that I hope the House Chair will show the same respect to the straight white men coming before us as she expects them to give her. Thank you.
I would ask again, Representative Renicki, that the House Chair is a member of this committee and due respect paid. This has been repeated enough times. I'm going to ask that it stop, basically. Thank you.
With all due respect, Senator, if you'd like to call me, I'd love to talk to you about it.
I may, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Lookner.
Morning, I'm Representative Grayson Lookner. I represent District 37, which is part of Portland, neighborhoods of Rosemont, Libbytown, Strawwater, and Nason's Corner.
Thank you. And Representative Morales.
Good morning. My name is Victoria Morales, and I represent South Portland and House District 33.
Thanks. And Representative, well, it's not Renicki now, but it's Representative Pickett. So Deborah will change your name again.
Yes, my identity has been hijacked again, but anyway, I had to get the link from Representative Rudnicki. My name's Dick Pickett. I represent House District 116, the towns of Mexico, Dixfield, Canton, Peru, and Hartford, and the beautiful White Mountains of Maine.
White, yes. Representative Pluker.
Hi, I'm Bill Pluker. I represent House District 95, which is Warren, Hope, Appleton, and part of Union. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And again, I didn't mention my area. I'm Senator Susan DeChambeau. I represent the towns of Dayton, Lyman, Alfred, Arundel, Kennebunkport, and my hometown of Biddeford. I will now introduce our two policy analysts today. I will begin with Dan Tartikoff from OPLA. He will be joining us and helping us through the two bills we have today. Dan?
Hi, and hi, everyone. This is my first meeting this session. I believe I've worked with a number of you in the past. My committee is usually, and there's still this session, my primary committee is the Environment and Natural Resources Committee, but I did do a stint on the Criminal Justice Committee for one legislature, and I've also dabbled in Veterans and Legal Affairs, Energy, Utilities, and Technology last session, and with Senator DeChambeau, I think only to Senator DeChambeau on the Select Committee on Marijuana a couple years ago that none of us will ever forget. And I'm an analyst at OPLA, so I'll be helping out this session.
Welcome back, Dan. We're glad to have you.
I don't know if you wanted to get right into it or.
No, I got some more interviews coming here. So Dan, out of all those committees you worked in, it's surprising, maybe not, that you would consider that working with criminal justice is having a stint with criminal justice. Sounds like a few people I know that have been in criminal justice system. So I will also recognize Jane Overton, who is a longtime policy analyst. She'll be joining us later, or there she is. Okay. Jane, do you want to say anything? No, you're all set?
No,
Okay.
Jane Overton, sharing the committee with Dan this year. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you. And our policy, our committee clerk, Deborah. And there she is. Great. I think I've got everybody now. Okay, so I will tell you that the agenda again is 1307, followed by 1348. And let me, if I may. So we'll begin with 1307, an act to restrict the sale. Oh, here I go again. An act to restrict the sale, purchase, and use of fireworks in the state. And that is Representative Cloutier's bill. And I will turn it over to Dan. He has provided us with an analysis on that bill. Dan, go right ahead.
So this bill and 1348 had a hearing, as you noted, last session. They also each had an initial work session, and I reviewed the useful YouTube videos from those meetings, and more sort of for my own purposes, I prepared an analysis for each of them. But as you all have probably reviewed, the sponsors of each of those bills are proposing amendments that depart somewhat from the original substance of the bill. So I'm happy to go through the analysis on each of them, but I certainly don't want to waste everyone's time. If you'd rather just jump to the amendments, I'll leave it up to you.
No, well, unless someone disagrees, this was a carryover because there were a lot of concerns and questions. And at our request also, and both sponsors, they wanted to work on it. So that's why we have those amendments. How do you want to proceed, Dan? Do you want to turn it over to the sponsor to present the amendment?
Yeah, I'm happy to have her present it if she's comfortable with that. I'm happy to answer any questions,
Okay.
or if she wants to provide an overview, I can then walk the committee through the amendment.
Oh, well, we could do that. Oh, well, Representative Warren, you have your hand up, or?
Senator, could we please bring in Representative Cloutier and also the fire marshal, the deputy fire marshal, Rich McCarthy? They worked, I know there was a committee that met as we asked them to over the summer and fall.
Yep.
And maybe they could present the amendment?
Yep. Yes. Okey doke.
I just brought over the representative. There are two Richard McCarthys in the attendees room. So maybe if the right one could raise their hand. Thank you.
Welcome, Representative Cloutier.
Thank you. Do you want me to just?
Yes. Go right
Okay.
ahead. Yeah. Tell
All
us,
right.
you've been through this, so let us know.
Good morning, friends. I hope you all are staying warm. So first of all, I guess I just want to give some background. So after the first work session, and we decided to do the carryover, I pulled together a working group that was comprised of myself, Steve Marson and Anthony Marson from Central Maine Pyrotechnics, Daniel Pert from Phantom Fireworks, Julie Ann Smith attended a few meetings and she's from the Maine Farm Bureau, Rich McCarthy from the State Fire Marshal's Office, Lieutenant Troy Gardner from the Fire Marshal's Office, Scott Harriman, who is a resident of Lewiston, which is in my district, and then Katie and Thomas Bryant, who are residents of Wiscasset. And we worked hard to come to, I think, what I would describe as common ground and a compromise on this bill and a path forward. We basically decided that it was important for us to hold the so-called bad actors accountable for not following current fireworks laws and setting them off illegally, as opposed to holding retailers and distributors accountable. We wanted to hold the folks who were doing the harm accountable. And through, with the help of Rich McCarthy and Troy Gardner, we were able to sort of, I think, give more teeth to the current statute. And so after meeting, I would think it was 5 or 6 times over the course of the summer and the fall, we had Rich McCarthy and Troy Gardner go back and try to put together some language for this amendment. And so what the amendment does is adds fireworks to the current statutes around littering and disorderly conduct. And I'm hoping Rich can speak a little bit more about his and Lieutenant Gardner's thinking on that. And also add some language to what is currently required in educational materials that are distributed by retailers. That includes suggesting that folks refer to the state fire marshal's office for information on the ordinances within each municipality. So I think that pretty much covers the amendment. And I think, Dan, thank you so much for working with me on that. And if there's anything you think is important to add, I would please do that now. And then I'm hoping that we can hear from the fire marshal's office about how they decided on which statutes to include here. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Representative Pickett.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Cloutier, for being here this morning and for all the work you've done, obviously, with the others on this bill. The question I have, and maybe you can answer it for me, but you talk in your bill when you did. I looked at the proposed amendment and stuff, and under letter A and B, you talk about Maine law expressly prohibits persons under 21 years of age. Now, is that is in current statute that you cannot have fireworks under 21 years of age? That's correct, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, that was just a point of clarification. We were pretty sure it was, but I wanted to make sure it was as we moved on. Thank you.
Representative Wernicke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Cloutier, in your amendment on B, furnishing consumer fireworks to persons under 21 of age is a criminal offense in Maine. My question around that is, if I had my, say 15-year-old son, which they're much older than that now, but if he was here and I had fireworks and he was, he was shooting them off, is that criminal for me to allow him to shoot them off? Is that what that is saying?
So we didn't touch, that is not anything that I touched in this. That was current statute before we did any work, but the fire marshal might be able to answer that for you.
Okay, because so those three, I guess those 3 paragraphs that are underlined, under the A, B, and C, that is current statute?
The only addition that we made is C, which is the local ordinances and referring folks to the state fire marshal's office.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Mr. Tadakot.
The confusion here may be my fault. The statute that we were amending in that portion of the amendment was becoming a bit too unwieldy. So I broke down the specific language disclosures into 3 paragraphs. A and B are already existing in law. They're no change. I'm just moving them. C is the new language that's being added. So A and B are already language disclosures that sellers of consumer fireworks are required to provide in their literature, and they reflect what the existing law is. C is the change there.
I was gonna raise my hand to recognize myself, but I thought there is, and maybe Mr. McCarthy can answer that. I thought there is currently that local ordinances may prohibit or restrict the use of consumer fireworks, because I looked at the list of all the towns, and my town has an ordinance that restricts that. I thought that was already law, so if you could touch upon that. Representative Cloutier, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think what are you looking, is that the same C that we were just
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
So yes, all this paragraph is doing is directing folks to the state fire marshal's website. So that people, so it's basically adding this to the educational outreach that we're asking retailers to do. We're asking them to direct folks to the state fire marshal's website so they can see the list of municipal ordinances.
Very good. Thank you. Clarifies it. There are no questions, more questions for Representative Cloutier. I will ask if, do you wish to add something, Mr. McCarthy?
First of all, thank you, Senator DeChambeau, Representative Warren, and members of the committee. The other Rich McCarthy in the waiting room is Lieutenant Troy Gardner. He heads our investigation division, and this morning, just as Representative Pickett had issues with links, I had to share my link with Lieutenant Gardner. So with your permission, I'd like to introduce him to the committee. As you know, in several sessions ago, there was the added position for the lieutenant to head the investigations division, and we have that position filled, and that is Lieutenant Troy Gardner. And so if with your permission, Senator DeChambeau and Representative Warren, bring him in so at least the committee can meet him. And yes, he and I did assist Representative Cloutier in wording these two small additions to allow local law enforcement a little more latitude to, as the representative mentioned, the bad apples. I will say that the vast majority of our complaints are neighbor to neighbor issues. Basically, folks shooting fireworks, leaving litter on other people's property, and just shooting outside of allowable hours. And it made it difficult for law enforcement to write it because both these statutes, you could interpret them to mean firework debris, but a lot of folks just had a hard time making the connection. So Lieutenant Gardner and I met, and there's Lieutenant Gardner, and we met to figure out the best place to put this. And I'll let Lieutenant Gardner speak to the legality side from the law enforcement side, but this is where we thought it best to give a hand to the law enforcement committee taking care of those bad apples.
Good. Welcome, Lieutenant Gardner.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you all. And as Assistant Fire Marshal McCarthy said, we spent some time talking about this, and our thought is that fireworks have been legal in Maine, and what that means is that people are engaging in new conduct or new behavior, and obviously with that comes some challenges, and those challenges are what we're talking about now. But our thought was to try to keep it simple and look at some statutes that kind of address the behavior that we're concerned about already, and just include fireworks wording in those statutes so that we're not kind of reinventing the wheel, if you will.
Representative Warren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't want to jump ahead of anybody, but I was going to make a motion, and people can still discuss, obviously. I'd like to make a motion ought to pass as amended, and send my appreciation to Representative Cloutier for meeting with this whole group 5 or 6 times and coming up with something that a lot of different interests are all endorsing. And that's not an easy task, especially when you're talking about something like fireworks. So kudos to you and thank you for your work, and thank you, Rich McCarthy and Troy Gardner, for your work as well. You're kind of making our work.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Just you're making our work a little easier, so I appreciate that.
You, Representative Morales, did you second that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. I see the hand of Representative Renicki, followed by Representative Newman.
Representative Newman was first.
Oh, I didn't.
All right.
It doesn't
No,
matter.
it's because he's here and I can take on it. So go right ahead. Yeah. Representative Renicki, you're the hand I saw first.
Okay. I just have a question. A lot of this, what you're saying now is it's about education, and then it's about allowing law enforcement to, because I'm looking at section C, including but not limited to loud and unreasonable noise resulting from the current use of fireworks. Doesn't that really go along with Senator Seaway's bill as far as the noise stuff goes? Is that kind of, are we kind of combining the two?
I will, Lieutenant, correct me if I'm wrong, but this will help both bills. You know, when we looked at it, the term loud noise is already in disturbing the peace. We just tied it to fireworks, so that if it is determined, and I'll let the lieutenant discuss the level to become where it goes from just a Saturday night in your backyard shooting fireworks to disturbing the peace. So Lieutenant, do you want to sort of chat on that for a second?
You're muted, Lieutenant. Okay.
I think the challenge with noise is if you're going to focus on noise, you have to be able to measure that noise somehow. And so I think that creates a set of challenges that I think may kind of appropriate about what the goal is here to kind of change behavior, if you will. And so looking at littering and disorderly conduct, the behavior that we're concerned about is already listed in those statutes. So it kind of makes sense to just throw it in there and basically highlight the fact that fireworks issues are included in that statute. So when the officer's responding, they know that they have the legal authority to address fireworks related issues.
Okay. You all set, Representative Renicki?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I then also see Representative Pickett.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, that was my thoughts too, because I don't mind putting new law in. I think that's a good idea when we're going to change something. But if the two bills are very similar and they're doing the same, and they're doing virtually the same thing, then I'm always a person that would rather have one good law than have one law and have another law and just keep filling up the law book. So that's kind of where I am. I'm just maybe either Mr. McCarthy or Lieutenant Gardner might have a comment on that, because I think you folks both looked at both of these bills, and are they similar enough to combine, or is there enough differences to move forward with the two of them, in your opinions?
Anybody care to answer that?
I would let Senator Seaway. I think there's enough difference when you look at the other bill. This section that we've added will help the issue with the animals and things such as that, but it's not specific. It was not specifically targeted for that.
And that's fine. As long as there's differences that need to be addressed, I have no problem with that at all. Thank you.
Representative Newman.
Yes, thank you. The question I had, I was hoping Lieutenant Gardner was going to answer it, because it had to do with the noise. And I just, from looking at this sections, making loud and unreasonable noises, how do you determine that though? Because to somebody who's 21 years old versus somebody who's 50 years old, you have a totally different concept of what's loud and unreasonable. So I'm just trying to find out how we come up with the level that becomes that.
Anybody care to answer that? I'll begin. Let me ask if, and maybe Mr. McCarthy and or Lieutenant Garner can, and Representative Warren was the mayor, so she knows about ordinances. In my town, there's an ordinance about noise level. But can you answer Representative Newman's question or concern?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm sorry. I was asked. I should have been clearer. I was looking at Lieutenant Gardner or McCarthy. How do you? Is it the complaint that it's noise and just a judgment call from local law enforcement, or how do you determine noise level?
Well, I mean, some of that's open to interpretation. It depends on what the complaint is, what type of complaint the complainant is making to you. Some of it will depend on if the officer can actually observe or, you know, hear the noise when they respond. But the challenge with setting a level, I'm not saying we should or shouldn't set a level, but the challenge with setting a level is you have to be able to measure that or establish that whatever the noise is has exceeded that level. And then so then the question becomes, how do you do that? So what we're saying by using these statutes, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but what we're saying is that if people are engaging in conduct or behavior that's causing problems to someone else, at least law enforcement can respond and address it in some fashion.
Very good. Thank you. Is Representative Newman, are you all set with that? Okay. Representative Lookner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had something to contribute. I know from my days playing music in Rockland that they would go around with a decimeter and measure noise levels, and it was 55 decibels across the street. Anything over that was considered a noise complaint or an actionable noise complaint. And I don't know if we want to put that sort of level or if that's enforceable, but that's what they used in Rockland anyway.
Okay, that's not good. Thank you. I had a couple of questions. I'm looking at the beginning, number 10, disclosures to customers, and I know you did mention that. The underline basically does say that at time of purchase or sale, the person authorized to sell the fireworks shall provide to the purchaser written guidelines, which must be published and approved by the commissioner. So I read that as whoever is selling the fireworks, that's how I read it, that, you know, these are very expensive purchases that a list, or maybe what someone just said, just telling them you follow the guidelines of the fire marshal's office. I expected that they were going to get something with it, like one sheet, the do's and the don'ts. Representative Cludio?
That's correct, and that's already happening.
Okay.
So the working group, Mr. Pert and the Marsons both provided us copies of what is currently being distributed. And it is a flyer that is, you know, given out every time somebody buys fireworks. Again, the only piece that we're adding to that is the referral to the State Fire Marshal's website that contains the ordinances for all the municipalities in Maine.
Okay, thank you. I happened to find that yesterday, and it was interesting, all those different towns and different ordinances. Representative Pickett.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It's my understanding as I listen to this and as I go through this, that basically the statute is not really restricting home rule, because there's an ordinance ability in the law. And that's the key to me in this, because I I'm a firm believer in home rule. And so if you've got a town, no matter what size it is, small, rural town, city, whatever the case may be, and you got somebody acting up with this, I would say that law enforcement, having been a law enforcement officer, you're gonna be dealing with probably different types of situations there. And sometimes the rural ones can be more rowdy than the city ones, trust me. But I'm just saying that I think that this looks like it's been worked really well. It looks like a lot of thought's been put into it. And I think there is the issue with sitting here in your living room, because I've had it happen to me on New Year's Eve and stuff, and be sitting here and have them rocking me out of the living room couch at 1 o'clock in the morning, because it's legal to do. But I don't want them doing that on a regular day of the year at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I think it's been done really well, and I'll be voting in favor of this bill. Thank you.
Either for Rich McCarthy, I've got one last concern, or Lieutenant Gardner. When I read this, I keep thinking that this is, using the fireworks at someone's backyard or by the lake or something. But the areas, I want to know if this changes anything on, let's say, Old Orchard Beach or the Sea Dogs or Eastern Prom, where they have the big citywide fireworks. I guess those aren't your problems, because I believe when they do that public-wise, you're right there. I mean, someone from the state fire marshal checks that out. So this wouldn't impact them any differently than what they're doing now, correct?
That is correct. Our permitting system is in place for the shows, the licensed shows with licensed technicians. This is for as Representative Pickett said, this is for the person that is shooting fireworks off at 2 a.m. next to your house.
Okay, great, thank you. Dan Tartikoff?
And just to add to that, I think the distinction here is we're referring to the term consumer fireworks, which are regulated separately from fireworks.
Yep.
Terrific, thank you. All right, we are set to vote, I believe. Everybody ready? No more questions? Good. So we have a motion ought to pass as amended, and I want to echo what Representative Warren stated. Terrific piece of work.
To continue to run a timer for the first hearing.
Who was that? Okay. Ms. Fahey, could you call the roll call, please?
Certainly. Video on, and please unmute for a roll call vote. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Representative Warren votes yes. Representative Morales.
Yes.
Representative Morales votes yes. Representative Reckitt.
Yes.
Representative Reckitt votes yes. Representative Sharp is absent. Representative Lookner.
Yes.
Representative Lookner votes yes. Representative Pickett.
Yes.
Representative Pickett votes yes. Representative Costain is absent. Representative Rudnicki.
Yes.
Representative Rudnicki votes yes. Representative Newman.
Yes.
Representative Newman votes yes. Representative Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Pluker votes yes. Senator Lawrence is absent. Senator Searway.
Yes.
Senator Searway votes yes. Senator DeChambeau.
Yes.
Senator DeChambeau votes yes. That's 10 votes yes, it's unanimous.
Great.
Thank you, friends.
Go ahead, Representative Cloutier.
Thank you to all of you. And I also want to thank the folks who participated in the working group and gave me their personal time over the summer and fall in Maine, because that's valuable time. So thanks to all of them who I'm sure are listening for the work session.
Super, thank you. All set.
Thank you, Representative.
Good piece of work. Okay, so the next one is 1348, the bill.
Testimony where you reside and if you are representing.
Do we have a ghost in here?
Sounds like we've got the Judiciary Committee crossover on the YouTube or something.
Well, they're next door to us, so I don't know. That's weird. Okay, so 1348 is our second and last bill. An act to limit the decibels, boy, I have a hard time with that word, of level of fireworks near working farms, and that's presented to us by Senator Sairway. So procedurally, I would ask Dan to give us an overview of that.
So as was the case for the last bill, I did prepare an analysis, but I'm not sure it's entirely relevant given the direction I think Senator Sairway wants to go with his amendment. So I'm happy to dispense with that unless everyone wants to hear it and move to the amendment.
You're getting off easy your first day with us there, Dan.
Just trying to be efficient.
Very good. Thank you. So I will turn it over to Senator Sairway. That is in our packet. There is a proposed amendment. Senator Sairway.
Well, thank you, Senator DeChambeau and Representative Warren and colleagues of the Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee. Because I'm Senator Scott Sairway, and before you present an amendment to LD 1348, an act to authorize the issuance of municipal fireworks use permits. So when we last met on this bill, it was decided that more time was needed to develop a solution to the problems of livestock face when exposed to fireworks. And after speaking with Matt Gomes, Lieutenant Matt Gomes of the Maine Fire Service, and also I spoke with Chief Joe Thomas, too, of the fire marshals. We are in agreement that one small step, and there could be another, but the first one is it could be made to address the issue. The new language would amend the state consumer fireworks law to say that a municipality may require a person to obtain a municipal use permit for using fireworks within the municipality. Additionally, if the online burn permit portal is, if it's updated, municipalities could use that issue fire permits if they have an ordinance requiring a permit for use of fireworks. So I feel this amendment language would be beneficial because it would give a location as to where the fireworks is coming from and also who. Also, there could be rules and guidelines in the individual towns as to what is expected in the area where there are high-strung animals. And there could be fines added to the ordinance that is created from the towns it violated. This would be basically handled very similar to a burn permit. So it was kind of mirrored to that. And I think it would be a lot better than dealing with decibels because, you know, it's very hard to prove on decibel levels. Because we have not just horses, but it could be dogs, could be certain animals that are high strung that it bothers. And this would be in certain areas, of course, because you might have towns that have more animals than others and have more complaints. And so they could make an ordinance and fit it to what the town would need. So Vicky Schmidt also had some added suggestions. So if any of you wanted to listen to for added suggestions, you know, we can also decide on that.
Thank you.
And also, we do have the language for what I just talked about, where the underlined pieces are, and Dan could probably explain that part.
Any questions for Senator Seaway? Seeing none. There's Representative Warren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to have some questions about this. Is this endorsed by the working group as well, Senator Searway?
Yes, we had like Lieutenant Matt Gomes and the Chief Joe Morris and Julie Smith-Bickford is well aware of it. And Vicki Schmidt had some added things that she was part of the working group, and she does have some added things that she would suggest if you choose to go with those suggestions.
The working group also included folks who sell, and I'm specifically interested because it's my district, and that's why we formed the working group. Was this amendment approved by the working group, Senator Searway?
I don't know if Matt Gomes or any of them had reached out or not. I don't know. I think we was going to meet and something came up, and I don't know if it was a death in my family or something that I couldn't make it, and so I don't know what happened there.
I'm going to need to hear from folks on the working group that were tasked by this committee to work on this.
Sure.
Whenever you want to call them in, Senator DeChambeau. And then I just have a lot of questions about, maybe I'll just ask this one right off the bat. Dan, this is for you. Where I'm looking at the A, B, C, D, and E, those aren't new, obviously, right? But what did those things apply to previously?
So I guess a couple things. There's nothing in the law at present that would prevent a municipality from requiring someone to get a permit for using consumer fireworks. And in fact, I think the city of Hallowell does in fact require you to get a burn permit from the fire chief before using consumer fireworks. So the language that's currently in the statute that you referred to is about selling. If municipalities require a municipal permit for selling fireworks. And so those requirements are not changing in this amendment. The only finagling I had to do of the statute is to identify which provisions apply to a municipal sales permit, a fireworks sales permit, and actually refer to it as a sales permit so that I could differentiate it from a municipal fireworks use permit. So without having to rewrite the entire section and then I think maybe create some confusion about what is current law and what's new law, I amended those provisions that relate to municipal fireworks sales permits that are existing law to designate that. You see where I added sales in a number of different places. So the really only operative change here is on the second page of the amendment, that paragraph that has the language about the state burn permit system. A municipality that does in fact require someone to get a use permit before using consumer fireworks. If that state system is at some point in the future updated to allow for fireworks use permits to be issued, then a municipality may allow someone to get their permit through that system. So it's sort of inoperative language at the time, because my understanding is the system is not set up to do that right now, but it's something they may be looking at in the future.
Thank you for that. That got me almost there, and I appreciate that. Almost there as far as understanding, and this is probably my lack of understanding, not your lack of explaining. So let me try to ask just one more time. The A, B, C, D, and E, does that relate to something that already exists regarding fireworks?
Yes, so that A, B, C, D, and E, it exists in current law and it applies to a municipality that's decided to require someone selling fireworks to get a municipal permit. So they're essentially minimum requirements for municipal sales permits. They would not apply to use permits.
Thank you so much. That's all I have for now.
Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is also for Dan. I guess I'm getting confused between a use permit and a sales permit and what regulations apply to each. Could you help me with that?
Right, so that A, B, C, D, and E, that is an existing law that applies to municipal sales permits and is not changing. All this law is saying is it is providing in the law that a municipality can require a person to obtain a use permit from the municipality before using consumer fireworks. And that's, my understanding is that's something municipalities already have the authority to do under home rule. And in fact, a number of them have required a permit. In Hollowell, it's essentially a burn permit from the fire chief that you have to get before using consumer fireworks. So the law is not actually putting any conditions on what a municipality may require for a use permit.
Thank you.
So what
Anything else? Go ahead.
I'm still confused. I'm sorry. So is the law changing around how municipalities issue use permits?
No, it's simply, I think, reflecting expressly that municipalities have that authority. I don't think that was in dispute before, but it is in fact expressly saying in the law now municipalities can require a municipal use permit before someone is able to use consumer fireworks. And then there's that additional language about if that statewide system for issuing burn permits allows for fireworks use permits to be issued, then a municipality could have someone use that to get a permit instead of having them go to the fire chief or whatever system they've come up with.
That's clear for me. And then, so is this amendment changing anything about municipal sales permits?
No.
No. Okay. Thank
Representative Pluker, maybe. I can't remember where I saw that. That must have been a highlight in one of the emails. And as I mentioned, it listed every town. I was surprised. I forgot, I guess, that my city, this doesn't affect them at all because the ordinance says you cannot sell fireworks within the city and you cannot use fireworks within the city. So that would be completely out. It seems like we've diverted from the original bill that said, I thought we were going to focus on livestock or farms. Right outside our city is the very rural areas. So I don't know how they handle that, but any other questions on this? Senator Seaway?
Yeah, well, I just, it's not diverting from the animals. It's more so that there's a permitting process that it's already there, but the problem is that it's not in state statute about the permitting, and it's just kind of letting the towns know that there is the ability to do that. And then when they're up and running, that they're going to be able to permit for fireworks. And that way it does allow, like if there's a loud noise and it's right near a farm and it's bothering the cows and they call the fire department can look up the permit and say, we know right where it is. We can go talk to the people, maybe warn them. because it's disturbing the cows or the horses, or maybe the dogs are, I don't know. But anyway, that would be the big key, but also if there are rules and regulations that the town comes up with ordinances, those can be enforced, but also the permitting piece would kind of secure who is doing it. So I think that it's got kind of a two-way thing, that it's kind of helping in many ways rather than going by decibel. So we want to just change the amendment title maybe, and act to authorize the issuance of municipal fireworks by use of permits. And so it's kind of we were trying to figure out a way to do something to help the animals and without using decibels, because there was a big debate on decibel use. And also just Vicky Schmidt, if you wanted her to come on, she probably could explain a little more. She's been involved in it for her whole career, so she pretty knows what probably could be added if you needed to.
Forgive me if this question's been asked, because I'm probably a little bit like Representative Pluker. I think I know it, and then something else gets said, and I shake my head. What would be some of the reasons you wouldn't get a permit to conduct, to use fireworks? I mean, what would stop, what parameters does law enforcement have to, or the fire chief to say no? Can someone answer that? This Representative Warren, followed by Representative Newman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a reminder, when we're ready, I'd like to hear from the members of the working group who have their hands up, who are here. We did task a working group to work on this, and so I think we need to honor that, and I'd like to hear from them. Thank you.
Representative Newman?
Representative Newman, you are muted.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
As being on the select board, answering the question on what would not allow somebody to get a permit, it would be up to the town or the municipality to write an ordinance specifying where you could or could not use fireworks within so many feet or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you. I suspected that. So the working group, correct me if I'm wrong, is this it sounds like a similar, so there was a specific working group for Senator Searway's group. Is there anybody who wishes to add to this discussion who are members of that working group?
I see 3 hands up in the attendees room. Steve Marson, Dan Pert, and Julianne Smith.
Marston, and who's the other one?
Dan Pert and Julianne Smith.
Okay, good, thank you. I will recognize Mr. Marston.
He's coming right over.
We'll go with that same order after Mr. Marston, Mr. Pert, and Julianne Smith. Welcome, Mr. Marston.
Good morning. I'm Anthony, not Steve. Steve is down in Massachusetts doing a site inspection for a fireworks show for next July. But my first point to make here is this amendment is completely outside the scope of the original bill. And I don't understand why now we're not, I mean, I know I get to speak now, but like, I believe this should be kicked back into a work group to discuss all of this from the beginning, number one. Number two, when I do a commercial fireworks show with Central Maine Pyrotechnics, I'm required to speak to someone at the fire department, depending on volunteer or full-time, I have to either speak to the police chief or the fire chief or one of their representatives to tell them that I'm doing a commercial Maine State Fire Marshal's Office permitted fireworks display in their municipality. So I kind of have a little bit of an issue with the online burn permit system. Like, I understand, I believe Hollowell does that, but in Wiscasset, I have to talk to the fire chief and be physically issued a permit from him directly. And the other point, I guess, is kind of ancillary to what we're getting at here is the sales permit for the stores. Obviously, we and Phantom have stores across the state. There are municipalities that already make us apply for and receive a sales permit locally, Winslow being the best example that I can give you from our stores. So I feel like a lot of this is already redundant to existing statutes. And furthermore, what we're discussing now and having the potential for this committee to support and go to the full legislature, I think we've skipped a couple of steps on where us and Phantom specifically and anybody else that's a stakeholder can discuss the new changes to this amendment. And the fact that I get to speak now is just because I'm here and you guys are letting me. It's not a public hearing.
So you or Mr. Marston were members of this working group, and this is what you present to us. I just want to make sure. Did you participate, or did Mr. Marston participate in the working group?
In the working group, there was a lot of discussion about decibel level, and we didn't get to this transformation to what we're at now with municipal fireworks use permits. And I'm sure Dan with Mr. Pert with Phantom would agree with me. I 100% oppose this whole thing right from the get-go as of today, without a lot of discussion about how this is actually going to be executed.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I will also recognize, since Mr. Pert had his hand up, if you want to join us, please raise your hand. Is Mr. Pert coming?
Yeah, there's always a little delay.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I don't think you're Mr. Pert. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Daniel Peart with Phantom Fireworks.
Okay.
I'll attempt to be brief because Mr. Marson touched on a lot of the points that I was going to touch on myself. I would like to, there's one point that does bear echoing. The original version of 1348 was not only geared toward the decibel level of fireworks, specifically the decibel level of fireworks at a boundary of a farm actively engaged in agricultural production and containing livestock. And it seems that we've veered into a completely different direction from that bill's intent. And I have some questions why, and that's, I don't expect the answer right now, but that's certainly a question that I have. This is something that we would have been happy to discuss in a working group. Representative Cloutier had 3 or 4 working group sessions that Phantom participated in, Mr. Marson participated in, and we would have happily joined the same with Senator Searway. There may have been some crossover in the very first working group with Representative Cloutier. I don't recall, but I certainly don't recall any follow-up. So when I got the language this morning of this amendment, that was the first that I'd seen or heard of any sort of concept change. Just touching on the livestock issue, Phantom was happy to offer an amendment. At the time the bill was first heard last year in the public hearing, because we were the ones that raised the issue that decibel level was very hard to get your hands around. It was very difficult to enforce. It was very difficult to manage, and setting the threshold in general is nearly impossible, quite frankly. So we came forth with an amendment to satisfy the concerns of the folks in the agricultural community. Again, the sales permit is fine. It's already happening. The use permit, it's not prohibited anywhere at the state level. So I assume that means that you can do it. But the issue that I have with that is state law is not only binding, but it's suggestive. And it's suggestive to local government that's used as a tool to adopt further guidelines at the local level. And the problem that I see with that is if fireworks are legal, then they're legal. And the community can issue guidelines that a responsible citizen has to operate under. But imagine buying a bottle of wine as someone 21 years or older and taking it to your home. Then you have to have a permit to drink it. I fail to see how this addresses the issue of responsible or irresponsible use, or whether or not this satisfies the concerns that I heard firsthand from people in the agricultural community. It seems that we've gotten adrift from that. I do agree that it bears further discussion. I thought the intent of the original bill was something that we were happy to be involved in. And, I guess now we have to refocus if the bill is going to be moving into a different discussion. So I share in the confusion of some of the members of the committee on that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I now, Julianne Smith. Julianne, you wish to join us?
I'm sending her over and just wanted to let you know Vicky Schmidt was on the working group and also has her hand up.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to join you. I was a member of the working group. My name is Julianne Smith. I'm the executive director of the Maine Farm Bureau Association. And I think with the working group, there was certainly some confusion about which bill we were working on, or if we were supposed to be working on both. And that is one of the reasons that I did work with Senator Searway and a couple other interested parties on this amendment on the agricultural bill. And, as has been mentioned previously, focusing on a decibel level is number one, nearly impossible to prove. And secondarily, it's very difficult to be able to specify where that noise is coming from. So for example, one of the farmers that initially brought this issue forward said, I live in the town of Sydney. It's right, my farm is right on the water. If people across the river are shooting off fireworks, that the water carries that sound and disturbs my animals. So this seemed to us a very easily implementable solution, so that if a person was firing off fireworks that is disturbing livestock, then the enforcement capacity, the fire marshal or whomever that may be can say, oh, okay, well, we know that there is a permit for this property. We can go to this property and say, hey, there is an issue. Next time you're going to fire off fireworks, you need to let the farmer know ahead of time so they can put their animals inside to protect them, or find some sort of solution. But where it stands right now is that people are firing off fireworks. It's disturbing animals. It lowers milk production for dairy cows. Horses that get out cost thousands of dollars worth of damage. And there's no way even to be able to approach the people that are firing off the fireworks that are having a negative impact on the animals, unless the enforcement is done in the moment. So that basically the police or the fire department would have to show up when the fireworks were happening to know that it was happening. So this way it makes it easier for law enforcement to say, okay, we know that the fireworks are coming from this property. We're just going to go have a conversation with them.
Thank you, Julie. I now will, since she had her hand up, Vicky Schmidt, please, if you wish to come in. Please let us know if you were a member of the work group and your work on that, please. Vicky, if you're in, you're muted.
She's in the room, but her camera's off and she's
There
muted.
you go. There you go. I think I'm here now.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I was part of the working group, but reached out once to Senator Cloutier and never heard back. I apologize because I think had I been an active participant in that working group, we'd be way further ahead than we are right now. I don't feel either of these bills as you're proposing them are anything but feel-good legislation. We're still not going to have the enforcement. When I call and ask Oxford County Sheriff, say I've got fireworks going off in 3 different towns, which my town borders Turner, Buckfield, and I'm a resident of Hebron. I've got 3 different towns and 2 different counties. This is why home rule is not working for farmers and rural people in Maine. It's great that all this legislation is for towns that have ordinances, but for the hundreds of small towns where the majority of your rural people are, a notification process, just like how we have for fire permits, is what we need to solve this statewide, because just like someone mentioned, we need to know immediately exactly where those fireworks were detonated from. And just so that you know, last year when we talked about low noise fireworks, those decibels are 75 to 80 decibels. Average firework is 155 to 175 decibels. Human pain from fireworks starts at 140 decibels. So every single firework that goes off in the state of Maine it will now be considered excessive noise. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin with some of this, but just the statewide notification system, whether or not the town has an ordinance, and I sent you folks some 3 or 4 pages of information this morning, and I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet, but Oxford County sheriffs, they just say we can't respond to these fireworks calls. They are overwhelmed, understaffed. They are fireworks. By the time they get here, the fireworks are not happening. Usually it's the next day when I get a call back. The only sheriff, one time when I called, he goes, I wish you could work to get these things banned. He says, it's not just horses. He goes, our dogs, the police dogs have issues with fireworks. I wish you guys could be at my farm when fireworks are going off. It's 360 dimensional fireworks in the sky. You can't shelter your horses from them. I have 28 draft horses at my farm at one time. I can't go out at 9:45 at night when fireworks start going off and bring them all in. There's the logistics that are just, people don't get rural farming, working farm, and fireworks. And I apologize for not being able to contribute. The one time, the Senator Searways with the fire marshals, I had to take a friend to the hospital that day. I was not able, that meeting came up within 2 hours. I got the notice and I was not able to make that meeting. That's why it went to a permit. That's what the fire marshals know. That's what the Maine Forest Service understands is the permitting process. They don't understand the animal dynamics. And even with the farmer in Sydney that was talking about across the river, that's going to be a totally different town. Does he have, what is his right in Sydney to go to that other town and say, you guys need to put in an ordinance because your fireworks are bothering my cattle? The decibels, the sound waves from fireworks travel at 1,000 feet per second. I mean, it's just the science behind these is what is lacking when we try to write these ordinances. And even the whole statewide permitting process, or the state, we have minimal standards for shoreland zoning. A town still has home rule to administer shoreland zoning, but the state gives them very concise, specific guidelines. And that's what we did not do with fireworks when this was started in Maine now 10 years ago. And it's the animals that are suffering. There is no profit. There is no money being made except by fireworks people in the state of Maine. If we put in the true cost, And the other thing is, I'm on my local fire department, and we run mutual aid to Senator Pickett. We have Canton. We cover part of Hartford with Canton. We have no authority if someone's shooting off fireworks. Our fire chief can't go there and say, "Hey, you got to be nice to your neighbor." That's not unless a fire is started. We are not, or a fire alarm comes in. We are not dispatched, and we have to be dispatched by Oxford County RCC to even be covered under our liability to leave on a call. There's a whole lot of things that aren't being considered here. So, and if anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. And I'm sorry for going on so long. I'm sure someone didn't ring that 3-minute bell on me. So.
No, thank you very much, Ms. Smith. And yes, I have your 4-page report here, and it's very well detailed. And thank you.
If we could just have statewide notification of where fireworks are being detonated, maybe it's going to take another year to get there. Maybe it's going to take a different type of working group to make that happen. But that's really what's needed to put any teeth, any ability to enforce anything to solve the fireworks problems.
Say that again. If we had a statewide
just like how we have for statewide fire permits. If it was a statewide notification, location notification, I could get on my computer at 4:00 in the afternoon, say, okay, neighbor so-and-so setting off fireworks tonight. I know to prepare maybe that side of my pasture, that end of my pasture or whatever, or at least be somewhat prepared. It's really right around the 4th of July when I get 4 or 5 different people setting off fireworks that and I go out there with my horses. I'm not going to tranquilize them at $50 a piece. They're working horses, they're show horses. It's just like we don't, if our kids, I'm sure the veterinarians and the pharmaceutical companies would love that as a solution, but dairy herds we can't go out and sedate and tranquilize our dairy cattle. There's just no logic to some of the quote unquote solutions that people say. For this, I need to know, as a citizen, I need to know where fireworks are going off anywhere around my property, no matter what town, no matter what county. Just like we do fire permits.
Thank you. Any questions? I see Representative Pickett.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Vicki, for being here, and thank you for the information. I did get your information this morning, your several pages of that this morning. I guess the question I have for you right now, I hear your concerns, and I certainly appreciate them. You've had a chance to see the amendment that Senator Seaway has put on the bill, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And
I'm guessing that you are in favor of that amendment, but you don't think it goes far enough.
As an amendment for only towns that have ordinances, no, and not nearly enough. And the issue is towns with ordinances. You take the town of Yarmouth, who had the very visual loss of the horse in the mudflats down there by the Muddy Rudder in 2 years ago. Yarmouth has an ordinance. You can't detonate fireworks, consumer fireworks in the town of Yarmouth. People still got away with it, and they never were ever to prosecute because they could not determine who set off those fireworks. So in that regard, Senator Seaway's bill, it's a little teeny tiny baby step for those towns that have ordinances that it will give their police some authority to, if they go on with the permit system and say, okay, we know that fireworks were detonated at XYZ, it set this house on fire, it caused this woods fire. Yes, those towns will have some ability to go after and prosecute. But for the whole rest of Maine, for the majority of us, the sheriffs, any lawyer is going to be able to get anybody off. There was no proof that it was set from that location. Oh, it was the neighbor's kids that, my son invited them over. I was up to camp that week. It's no loss will ever be prosecuted without knowing where that fireworks was detonated from.
Okay, thank you.
I see Representative Warwick, followed by Senator Seaway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hearing that the person who I think was involved in bringing this forward, doesn't really see this as a solution to what the issues are. And I think I also heard that what we're putting explicitly can already be done. And most importantly, the fact that the folks who happen to be my constituents, as you all know, Pyro City has its corporate headquarters in Hollowell, but also has a store in Manchester. It's the reason I'm so interested in the working group. I counted on the working group to bring folks together because I want to represent the businesses that are in my district. And the fact that this bill hasn't been vetted by the working group and that members of the working group are against it, I also agree that this goes far afield from what the initial proposal was. And I think we would want to have a public hearing. So anyway, with all of that said, I'm going to make a ought not to pass motion.
It's been moved. Anyone wish to second that motion?
Second.
Representative Kluger seconds that motion on to pass. And now Senator Seaway. We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, can we have discussion on it?
Yes, you may.
Oh, okay. Certainly I understand. I tried to get it done earlier. We had a miscommunication. I tried to get different people and I asked, I really didn't have the phone numbers to the owners. I had, to the organizations, but there was a time when we was trying to get it together and we couldn't, but then as lately I was actually able to get a hold of the fire marshal and also the Forest Service, and because they seem to have big concerns about decibels and whatever, and also the owners of the pyrotechnics also had concerns about decibels. So this basically was a avenue to keep what we already have, but it was to instill in the state to get across that when the time comes and when it's available, and also that if they could get permitting. And I think the stress of the permitting system was basically just trying to get so that we could get a location for the animals. And I think this is a serious situation. And I think if we took a little time, I could talk to the owners and maybe we can come up with something in a week or so here. If you can give us that much time, I think that, there is a need for it. And I just don't want to see fireworks totally gone, because eventually that's going to get to the point where the animals are not going to be able to, it's going to show up. And I think even the owners said that there is a problem. They recognize it. So I think if we can, even if we can get something with the permitting system, it's not really getting down to where you're talking about decibels, but it's more for saving the animals, so I'm just asking for another week and see if we can get something.
Looks like maybe
Muted.
she is.
You muted,
sorry.
Senator.
No, I know, I'm sorry. It's doing that on its own. Representative Pickett.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. in light of the fact that there's been work done on this as well, and there's work that still needs to be done, and in light of the fact of what we did on Wednesday, tabling 2 bills, to give the sponsors a chance to work on it a little bit more. I think this one, yeah, I think if the senator can reach out to all of the people on that working committee and get back to us in a fairly reasonable amount of time to let us know one of 2 things: we've come up with a solution, or it's just not doable. And I think the sponsor deserves at least that opportunity to do that, where he's put quite a bit of work into it. And I know how things can come up when you're trying to organize meetings and stuff. So I would make a motion to table.
I'll second that
motion. Oh.
Whoops. Okay.
To be courteous, I'll
Yeah.
second.
Good. I'd forgotten about this. Representative Warren, help me on that one. The tabling motion supersedes.
Tabling trumps all motions.
Yeah.
Right.
Good. All right, it's been moved and seconded. There's no discussion on a tabling motion. We will call for a roll call.
Committee members, please unmute and turn your video on for roll call vote. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Representative Warren votes yes. Representative Morales.
Yes.
Representative Morales votes yes. Representative Reckett.
Yes.
Representative Reckett votes yes. Representative Sharp is absent. Representative Lookner.
Yes.
Representative Lookner votes yes. Representative Pickett.
Yes.
Representative Pickett votes yes. Representative Costain is absent. Representative Rudnicki.
Yes.
Representative Rudnicki votes yes. Representative Newman.
Yes.
Representative Newman votes yes. Representative Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Pluker votes yes. Senator Lawrence is absent. Senator Searway.
Yes.
Senator Searway votes yes. Senator DeChambeau.
Yes.
Senator DeChambeau votes yes. That's 10 yes votes. It's unanimous.
Could I ask Deb if I could get a list with the names and numbers of who's supposed to be on the group? Because I want to make sure everybody's included.
I think it probably one of the analysts can help with that, but I'll follow up.
Thank you.
As chair, I'd like to make a comment. We did table 3 bills on Wednesday. We have we've received some information that they'll be ready within a week. One of them is already all done, met that afternoon. So Representative Warren and I, after this meeting, will be looking at the schedule. Can you do that within a week, 10 days, Senator Searway, maybe through Zoom?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If you want, probably, yeah, this coming week or next week's fine. I'll try to do it in a week or.
Okay, we will get back to you when we can squeeze that in. We've got to look at our schedule also. Yeah. So
and it would be better the following week, but that's
yeah,
okay.
10 days or so. Yeah. Okay, we'll look at that. Thank you. Thank you all today. That concludes our agenda for this morning or today. Anybody have any questions to proceed or none at all? I want to thank you, Dan Tadanoff, and everybody else who showed up to clarify. I don't know if it clarified, it muddied, but we want good legislation. That's what we want. So we'll strive for that. Our next meeting is the 19th which is on a Wednesday, right? We have three, the building codes one is probably going to be on its way to state and local. It's very confusing, don't ask. We're going to have 1797 and 1803 as public hearings, and one work session on 1447. So that's on the 19th, Wednesday. So this concludes the meeting, and I wish you well for the weekend. Also, come back healthy next week. Take a rest, or better yet, if your town has a Martin Luther King program, that's this Monday. So some of those are very good. So good luck. See you next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you.